Can I be fully honest with you?
Yeah.
There's a sale at the major sports retailer right now, and it affords me the opportunity to buy what I would consider to be the greatest sports memorabilia of all time, which is to say, like a player who was total dog shit for a team, but they thought would be good, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just staring at a bunch of like $3.99 t-shirts, trying to figure out what's the funniest possible one for me to acquire. And right now I'm looking at one, Usher Super Bowl 53 collection event night t-shirt, and it just says Usher on it with a giant like a football helmet that's in like pink and purple colors.
No, I think what you want to look for is Nelly, because he had the 50-50 jersey during the halftime appearance.
I feel like that's too good, right? Aaron Rodgers Jets t-shirt is like kind of on the table. Like it's definitely like it's right there. There was a great Russell Wilson Broncos one where it was Russell Wilson and it said, "I don't fear anything." I would have gotten that one, only available in size small, but I would have done it if it was there. Like this is the space.
There's a small part of me that's saying, you know what, get the Rodgers t-shirt for me just because I want it.
Whoa. I found a RuPaul t-shirt. I don't know why it's here, but I found it. It's $3.99, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
That's $3.99, baby.
That takes priority. Please go to checkout and make sure you get that in your size before they sell out.
Yeah, I'm doing this. I'll let you know. I'll update you as the podcast goes on. This is.
You're just gonna randomly start shouting out random jerseys. We'll be talking about Star-Lord,
I got a
and
2023 NBA Finals appearance Miami Heat shirt. You know, finals appearance, not a finals win, finals appearance. No, they were there.
Appearance. Why do I feel like we're gonna need a link to put in the description just for this awful? So just so people could be like, "Oh dear God, I found this too," and then start sharing it in Discord and like.
This is awful. Like, my dad is a Giants fan. I should get him this Danny Dimes thing. It's like, hey, Dad, thinking of you.
I spent a whole $4 plus shipping, which was $5. Yeah. It better have shipping that's more expensive than the actual product, because that just completely sells it to me then.
Yeah, I think there's a very high likelihood of that given the price of these products. I think it seems like a very likely thing to happen.
How's international shipping?
Such a good question.
You're paying more for the packaging than the actual anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Should we attempt Marvel Snap talk?
Oh yeah, we could talk about like, oh my God, there's a China baseball shirt. Absolutely. I'm in for this.
Okay, so we went Marvel Snap. We went to China Marvel Snap. Yeah, that was close. Yeah. So if we loop it a little further, go a couple more time zones.
you come back around. Going, yeah.
And then we'll get back over to Marvel Snap.
We'll get there. Don't worry. We'll find ourselves there.
I think I'm actually now excited to make this a 12-minute podcast just so I can go take a look at this link later.
You've got a couple hours.
Okay, that's good.
You got a couple hours before the sales end.
Done. I will send it to New York. Let's speaking of things going into the fire sale.
Yeah.
Let's talk OTA.
Because let's talk about all my Star-Lord stock.
What Star-Lord stock? You don't have any left.
It's in the fire sale now. I had to I dump my Star-Lord stock ASAP, bro.
It is $3.99 now. That's all you get for Star-Lord.
It's that Aaron Rodgers on the Jets. It's that Micah Parsons on the Cowboys. We are done here.
Yep. Because Star-Lord.
Actually, you know what's messed up is I genuinely kind of don't know that we are.
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that too, because I have a very similar perspective where this hurts the decks. Star-Lord going to a 5/8, which first off, I don't think anyone had this on their bracket. Them going, okay, Star-Lord, maybe some people had going to 5 cost, but 5/8.
I think it's about right, but I don't like it, if that makes sense.
If you're trying to play it as an actual body on 5, you're now making it try to compete with something like a Gamora. And that's how I kind of perceive it, is this is Gamora plus. Which means Gamora gets a buff soon, maybe, sort of, kind of.
Well, I don't really think that that's a reasonable expectation to have. But what I will say is I think they are doing simultaneously an admirable job at trying to keep this card appealing while also killing everything about it that made it appealing in the first place. So, yes, it's 5 very big. But you are not going to be doing nearly the same stuff with this card as you previously were. Almost all of it will be terrible, and you will happily play 5 very big in your high Evo deck and probably not meaningfully duplicate it without extreme reliance on the card Magic. And once you're in the extreme reliance on the card Magic bracket, we're kind of done here. Like, okay, maybe you can play a Ramper on 3. Maybe you can Luna Snow into this, and then on 5 you can, and then on 4 you can play this, and it's like, okay, congratulations on your 2 energy. I see. It's not good.
You're off. You're so close to the right track though with this card. You return early. Because you play either Luna Snow or Wave on 3 into this. Luna Snow Wave on 4 into this on 5. You float an extra energy each time by doing that. And you still get Star-Lord to give you +5.
Why are you, what? I'm talking about doing the combo, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to play this card to see what it says on there.
No. I'm saying
don't bullshit with this. Don't bullshit with this. You were like, no, you're so off, bro. You're so off. I wasn't even talking about just playing this card. I'm not off. I'm detailing how bad it would be to do the combo now.
The combo is just different now. Instead of needing to drop this on 4, hold on. Before you get down that path, hear me out. You have a couple of different options on the combo. You're just doing different versions of the combo. Okay. The way you just explained it makes no sense to do anymore. This is not a drop Star-Lord on 4 or try to ramp Star-Lord onto 4 and then do the combo. It's not enough. It's better to literally wait the extra turn and get more stuff by doing it on turn 4 and turn 5. If you were to try to do that in comparison 1-to-1, the play line on this, if you're trying to get double Star-Lords, there's, to my understanding, only one combination that could potentially maybe work. That's Luna Snow on 3 into Symbiote Spider-Man on 4 into this on 5. That's the only way to get the double combo to do that. And a 3-4-5 combo, we learned this from Hammer Bros, relying on an actual 3-4-5 combo as the centerpiece of your deck does not work.
I'm still salty. That you were like, oh, you're so way off. You're not going to, like, you could still do the combo. And then you describe not doing the combo. Okay.
Well, you're going with the 2 version combo. You're going for the double proc combo. I'm not talking about that. I was talking about you're so close to how you play this card now. That's where I was going. I thought we were going about different points.
To be honest with you, I thought we already established that how you play this card now is almost certainly going to be you play it on turn 5.
Yes, you have
like no duplications whatsoever, no combos.
Right.
What I was trying to detail was that, like, what are you supposed to do? Luna Snow into this, get 4 extra energy seems terrible, right? Like that's not particularly compelling. If you're Luna Snowing into this into Zola, seems horrendous. Kills it in Mr. Negative. Here's the thing, though. Quite a big body.
Yeah.
Like, it's an appealing card in a totally different way. It goes from a combo card to just like, I'm a dude who's really big and giving you some extra energy. I'm still going to be probably pretty good if you're going to be playing the deck that I'm doing this in. So play me anyway. It just takes him out of every combo deck ever and puts him in, I am now supporting High Evolutionary, which he's still kind of the goated High Evo card. Just, that's High Evo.
Yeah.
So,
And when he was a 4-5, I was trying out and had success with a variation that was the Star-Lord combo that went into a Scar final play, which had like either a 312 or a 112, depending on if you pulled the combo or not. And this kind of brings me back to that mindset a little bit where it's like, okay, this is an easy way to drop it. But if you're trying to do mega combo stuff, I don't know how valuable that necessarily now is anymore. And is it worth it to even try to go out of your way to make this do the combo? I think is the only way you could word it, is to try to have it do the combo. Like, is it worth it to go Jennifer Kale into Luna Snow, activate, then go Star-Lord, Master of the Sun into Zola to make the big thing? Like, is it even worth it to make that kind of a build when we look at it simultaneously and go, well, it's the same amount of cards as doing Grandmaster and Absorbing Man with Star-Lord and Zola. It's the same amount of cards. It's just different cards. But why does it feel so different?
What do you mean? Because you have less time to make them happen.
True. Yeah, the draws themselves of actually obtaining
that's
them.
Why, right? Like,
to do
you
it.
have if your combo
That's
requires one card on turn 4 and then 2 of 3 cards on turn 5.
That's
much
true.
easier to put
That's
together
true.
than if your combo requires 1 card on turn 2, 1 card on turn 3, 1 card on turn 4. That's a much less stringent ask. It's one of the reasons that I think people are really always off about Destroy. Like, Destroy is a deck that has always had the ability to output with the best decks in the game, but it has had less access to that output because in order to access that output, your early draws have to be really, really good. And if you draw your stuff too late, it just doesn't functionally work. So part of why Star-Lord and Sholau are so particularly relevant is they are quite forgiving. Star-Lord, you draw as late as 4. You just play it after doing absolutely nothing. Sholau, you draw final turn of the game after doing basically anything. Very similar things going on with those cards that made them good. The more you have to front load, I need this, the worse a combo deck is. And largely, I think that what they've done with Star-Lord is unfortunate. I would describe it as maybe a necessary evil. They clearly think it's necessary. I think it's evil. So we'll meet in the middle and call it a necessary evil.
Yeah.
I don't like nerfing cards this strongly right after. Like, I get it. He sucks. He's the worst. He's a horrible play pattern. It will never sit right with me to nerf a card like this in this way. I do think that he has more appeal than a Mr. Fantastic First Steps did, because he does have a clear identified role. This is a great card for a high-Evo deck. I do think it's not necessarily comparable to that. And at the same time, I do think it's probably a net positive for the metagame. But it's just one of those situations where it's like, I wish there was a solution that wasn't this. Because I don't know if they had enough good knobs left on the card to do something other than this. I don't have any better ideas. I don't want to sit here and act like I know better than them how to do their job, because I don't. I just really viscerally dislike when they do this with a season pass card.
I just all of a sudden, first off, I just went, ooh, Majestic Wingbeat. That's intriguing. That's intriguing. But outside of that, I had posted earlier in the week, my solution was to make it a objective.
I saw your solution.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. I did dislike the lack of modularity on it. Like, I like it, but I think it's like the kind of thing you do maybe in 6 months if you have no better solutions, or like if this is too strong of a nerf and maybe you want to bring it back. My instinct is that the lack of modularity on it means that it just makes the same play pattern happen. Like, you just play it and then it goes off and then you do the same stuff. I would like to be able to have control over, like, +3 energy, +4 energy. I think taking that away from people is probably a really bad idea. And while I do really like the use of objective, I think it probably takes too much away from the card. Where, like, at least this is like, it kills all the combo stuff. The card is still a high Evo card. It's at least nominally appealing. I get it. I just wish they didn't have to.
Yeah, for those who are not on X, the suggestion that I had put out there originally was keep it at 4/3 objective, end 4 turns with unspent energy, gain +4 power and +4 energy next turn. So the goal was to still kind of maximize what people basically are trying to do with the card anyway, -1 energy, so you can't do MODOK Hela, and it still forces it to want to be more often than not the turn 5 play, which is kind of the direction the devs ended up going, obviously, by making it a 5-cost card. I just now also look at this and I go, is this now officially better Serra?
No. Because Serra doesn't require sacrifices the way this card does. It is paying you back.
Yeah, true. Deck dependent.
It is paying you back, but it's not strictly better Serra.
Yeah. You get it on the top end with the power and the energy if you invest into the card over time versus Serra, where you can play on curve, fill curve, and then still get extra reduction. So yeah, if you're doing like for those who actually used to remember the good old days of Serra Surfer, yes, when it was something viable, yeah, that's what we had. And now we have this version. And I'm going, oh, okay. I think there's going to be somebody's going to figure out a shenanigan or two with this new version. It's not going to be as strong as negative. That's for darn sure. But somebody's going to figure out something. And I'm curious to see how the community takes this new version and kind of rocks with it. I know I'm immediately going down the Majestic Wingbeat standpoint just because I think that there's something there. What that is, I'm not sure, but I think there's something there in that kind of a build. But mess around with it. Maybe it's just a Zombie Galacti card. Who knows? Just as a backup plan.
I don't hate that.
Speaking of negative, though, is there a way? Well, I shouldn't say is there a way. Is there a world where this is essentially the change that happened to Star-Lord and simultaneously the change that has happened with Gorr? They made Gorr a 6/1, so it can't be Jane Fostered. Did this catch a stray because of Star-Lord?
Did Gorr catch a stray? Or did negative catch a stray?
I'd say negative, because obviously to straight up Gorr, this is a buff. But to negative, this is a nerf.
I'll be honest. I think that's just like a really smart thing to do, right? Like, we're buffing a card that in a way that makes one of the more annoying decks in Marvel Snap slightly less annoying. I think this is just an absolute win. Like, if you want to argue it's a stray, I think that like that's not an incorrect way to describe it. Like, it probably was on the radar because of the Star-Lord negative deck, but it's also one of those changes that the more I sit with it, the more I'm like, no, that actually makes perfect sense. I'm actually like, wait, so you're telling me you make this card better in a straight up sense and worse in a combo sense, and you can just do that? I would do that every time.
I guess part of my worry with the card is that if you take it out of negative, it's never getting played.
Well, the good news is you're not taking it out of negative. That's the thing. What are you going to do? You can cut this? No, of course you're not going to cut this from Mr. Negative. Come on now.
I still think you do.
You think you cut Gorr from Mr. Negative?
Yeah. I think you cut Gorr and officially now have Sage.
No.
Because Sage is easily, without question, a 10.
Yeah.
And consistent and can be. You don't need to.
Yeah, you do. You run Mystique in your deck so you can copy Iron Man, and you need a second copier for that. What's the second thing you're going to Mystique?
You're doing the null variation. You're still running that whole negative Arnim Zola null. You're still running that package. But my conversation with Gorr is this is what made that shell rounded out. You had your options of going down the Gorr line. You had your options of going down the Arnim Zola line. You have your options of going down, and hitting Mystique was the first level in that. And it did hurt the deck significantly. I think Gorr is was like the lifeline it needed to stay together as a deck. I think this going to 6-1 does actually make negative tremendously worse.
I don't know about tremendously worse. What I will say is I think it is criminal to cut Gorr from the deck because you can't Jane Foster it. Criminal act to do this. Like, Gorr is still going to be in the deck. I think it is undeniable. It makes your negative Jane draws worse. That's it.
Yeah, but you don't have Star-Lord anymore. You don't have your backup plans.
I realize that.
So if you're doing negative Jane, you're all in on negative Jane.
Well, no, you could just play Mr. Negative and then like a magic, like we used to do in the old days. Like
the good old days. But you could
still
do
play. You could just play a Mr. Negative and then draw 2 cards that are negative and have those cards be good. Like you are not locked in on this.
No, I would rather have negative Jane with the security of being able to build a Sage Zola, like doing Sage into negative Zola, put it into 2 lanes and then have it go off twice. Like that I would be more about than Gorr, because we also live in a world where there are so many absorptions, merges, copies, objectives, activates. On reveal, the value of the on reveal has gone down tremendously in every single deck. And Gorr's value in general has gone down too. And making it a 6-1 doesn't make it good enough to be able to hold on in that deck.
That's exactly the line, right? You're saying true stuff. You're saying true stuff. You're saying true stuff. That's where I draw the line. Like, I agree. Gorr is worse and worse and worse. All of that, those are all premises I agree with. The conclusion, I do not. I do not think that the delta is sufficient for me to cut Gorr from Mr. Negative.
I am very excited to see how people treat Gorr in negative now. And
I also just think that people need to understand that, like, before Star-Lord, Mr. Negative was deeply mid and will likely go back to being deeply mid. So like that is kind of baked in, and it's like 90-10 Star-Lord Gorr here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Negative becomes what it like the best of negative goes back to what negative used to be, which is the first week of the season deck. That's when you play negative. That, to me, that's how it was. And that's what I think it goes back to now, because now it's specifically lost Star-Lord, not because Gorr got a buff, but because it's specifically lost Star-Lord now. It's kind of like, all right, it has no plan B. You're either all in retreating for 1 or trying to win 4 and 8 and have a 40% win rate with positive cubes. That's what you're trying to do with negative again. And I'm totally okay with that.
Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity.
Yes, your camera got a little blurry there, by the way. But yeah,
the camera can't handle the bars.
Clearly, because you just be spitting. So I think this one's going to be up, and minus these 2 being probably the most noteworthy changes of the OTA. If you had to put them, I'm assuming these are probably your 1 and 2, like most important styles of change.
I mean, Star-Lord's 1. You'll have to get back to me on 2. I think.
What else is in contention? Gambit?
I gotta go fucking look at it. What are you talking about? You think I have it memorized? What's your problem? Edit this out. You're making me look stupid.
No, the blurriness of your camera that you've left on is making you look stupid. Me, I'm just going to say,
I can't do anything about that. It's not.
Yes, you can. You just do that. There you go. Well,
that's not what you said. You said it was blurry, not out of focus. Blurry means like my connection is bad, not out of focus, which is something I can actually do about.
I'm pretty sure the comments are going to say no, KM, no. But
that's definitely how I interpret it. That's all I'm going to say.
Fine. I'll go over to Gambit then, because since you're going to need to be spoon fed on this, and that's fine.
Yes. Like, what do you mean I'm going to need to be spoon fed on this? We got the information 12 hours ago, and you're like, rank them. I need a stack ranking.
You don't have the OTA open in front of you?
No, I don't have the OTA open in front of me. We've established this. I'm looking at t-shirts.
Fine. Okay. Here comes the airplane. Gambit, Horseman of Death's coming here.
Someone's gonna clip that.
I know.
Someone's gonna clip that. It's
I know they are.
That's so bad. That's so bad. Someone's very specific fetish just got fulfilled on this podcast.
They're going to be editing in like different fruit to toss into the mouth right there. It's like, oh God. Oh, not the blackberry. No. Talk to me about Gambit. Does this make a difference? Yes or no?
Well, I think the length of that kind of really defines it. I think largely it doesn't make a huge difference. It probably makes a difference in the amount of commitment you need to make. But decks that were already committed to Gambit are probably getting Gambit most of the time. I've been pretty surprised by how easy he is to get in basically any deck. Obviously, you can still free roll him with Valentina. I think one of these things that happens is like, sometimes you'll watch a content creator's thing about an OTA, and what they'll get stuck on is like the very most obvious thing. So I would expect that most of our viewers have probably heard, if they're watching other content creators, a lot about how this changes nothing with Valentina. And it's like, yes, that is demonstrably true. 6 is in fact the number of the card that Valentina gives you. But what about in other scenarios? Will it meaningfully change anything? Let's say when you aren't doing Valentina. And the answer is, I think maybe not, because Iron Patriot is also giving you an expensive card. So like between an Iron Patriot and a Frigga, or an Iron Patriot and a Sandstorm, or an Iron Patriot and a Hood, you're probably hitting 6 anyway. I can't think of a lot of times when you're not hitting 6s specifically, but like my versions of like the deck that I've been playing with Ozymandias, where it's just like Sandstorm, Iron Patriot, and of course Valentina as the enablers. That kind of thing probably doesn't play nearly as much anymore. Like it's where funny. You're really skating on the back end of it. Like you're probably less splashing this guy.
It's funny that you said
the deck.
Yeah, it's funny that you said the Iron Patriot thing, because I'm actually on the opposite end of it. I think that this solidifies this as you're potentially wasting your time if you're playing Iron Patriot and you're just going all in on Valentina. I think it's just a 2-card combo, because the thing that it hurts by going from 5 to 6 is, more than anything else, probably Bastion. Because Bastion is then really saying you're getting your created cards bounce back up, and they're all 2 costs, and you're either dropping all 3 of them down, or you're just not getting what you really wanted out of this. So I think that card specifically gets hurt by this change. The other card that I think that does get hurt by this is the standard Victoria hand Gambit build, because very often you want to Frigga your Victoria hand, and you have that copy, and then it's only a 2. And that's very often, like, that was the deck where I'd feel like I would squeak by and I would get to 5 because I'd have 1 copy 3 and then a copy of a 2. That specific build. But your Moon Girl style decks, I think those still continue to thrive. I think Infinity Ultron still does continue to thrive as a variation that people kind of lean into a little bit more here, because anything that's going to really play Quinjet and lean heavier into it without the need for Iron Patriot, I think is just kind of the molding of where this card goes. And we're just taking the vast majority of decks that it's good for and refining it down to a much smaller, okay, these are really the only decks you want to go for, rather than splashing it into a billion different things, because 5 is relatively easy to hit because there's too many support cards to make that happen. Let's really refine it by making it 6. And if you're going to use it as a package, it is exclusively a Valentina Gambit Horseman of Death package.
So I'm going to go the other way. I think you just simply don't use it as a package if that's the option. Because what is this card? This card is a tech card, right?
Yeah.
You're doing it for a specific reason. It is unacceptable for your tech card to not function. You have to play more support than a Valentina. You have to, or this doesn't go in your deck.
Right. No, I would agree with that.
But you're saying people are going to play a Valentina package with just that and Gambit. I'm saying if that doesn't exist, no one should do that.
The most created card packages. Like, look at your Misery Hood package, right? Look at your Infinity Ultron package, even your Thanos package, right? Those decks right now, organically as is, you don't feel confident getting to 6. If you play Iron Patriot over Valentina, you run a percentage chance risk.
Okay, so here's where the misunderstanding is. Nobody is ever playing this card without Valentina currently. That's why I was confused. Because I feel like you're approaching this like an idea of like people are playing Iron Patriot Gambit with no Valentina in the deck.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
You should not be playing this card without Valentina in the deck.
Correct. 100%. No, we're in agreement there.
Okay.
I'm saying that if you're building it, using this as a package that goes into other created card decks, you had the option to say, well, at least I have my Valentina as a backup line because I could get it from the 5 out of the 6 stones from Thanos, or just a Frigga'n Gambit plus 1 extra card. Like, I had enough to get away with it where I wouldn't need to necessarily play the Valentina, or maybe I just had the Iron Patriot and I went in on that and that was close enough because it got me to 5. If you're leaning to need to get to 6, you need to play this with a guarantee. I think you cut Iron Patriot from those builds and you exclusively focus on Valentina because it gives you the security you need with a little bit of created card synergy, because you're probably playing Quinjet, you're probably playing some other variation of cards.
See the card get more difficult to achieve and decide what you need to do is cut a card that gives you the ability to achieve it. Not 100%, but like a decent amount of the time.
Because I think if you're playing out your Valentina, you're playing it on 2, right? That's the only time you're really playing Valentina out, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you play it on 4 with another 2, but yeah, I mean, you want to be playing it on 2 a lot. It's a 2-cost card.
Very often with the Gambit lines for duplications, you're making the decision of how am I duplicating it right from turn 2. You're deciding, am I moongirling this? Am I Friggaing this? Am I bastioning this, etc.? How am I making a second? Am I prodigying this? How am I making a second copy? By then, you already know the entire rest of your copy line. If you don't have Valentina and you run the risk of playing in, let's say, the Iron Patriot, and if it has a percentage chance of giving you that 4 cost, you still don't hit your 6 consistently. You have to lean in. You just
changed what we're talking about. You were saying, I'm putting this in as a package in decks. Now you're saying I'm fully building around Gambit and copying Gambit.
No, that's not. No, that's not what I'm saying.
That is what you're saying. What are you talking about?
No.
You said I'm cutting Iron Patriot. The package is now just Valentina and Gambit. I'm saying that's crazy.
Okay, to run it as a 2-card package, we are in disagreement. As a like plug and play 2-card package, just run it out. I think you could do that. I absolutely think you could do that. It's not the smartest thing to do because you have to have it 2 into 3. It's kind of like looking at your percentage chances of playing Pixie into Mobius. You just think about how often that actually works. That's how you look at it. Is it an option? Yes. If you're going to do that option, that's how you go about it. However, if you are playing it down into the line of I'm needing to lean into created cards because I'm doing what we'll call it a Quinjet deck. That makes it easier with all of this, right? Call it a Quinjet deck. To play a Quinjet deck, to get this to 6, if you're Quinjetting a whole bunch of stuff that are 2 cost, 3 cost sometimes, and Quinjet's obviously not reducing the 1s, you still need the consistency. And I think Valentina is a guaranteed consistency. You don't need to have Iron Patriot.
I don't agree with cutting Iron Patriot.
Right. I think that Iron Patriot slot is now more beneficial to say, listen, you're either doing the combo or you're not. Let's put in a second tech card.
Right. See, this is what I was getting at when I talked about like why you wouldn't want to do it as a package like Pixie Mobius or something like that. What I'm trying to say specifically is it is unacceptable for you to run a 3/3 in your deck that doesn't do anything. If you are not with heavy consistency activating Gambit, he is your entire plan in multiple matchups. He is the whole thing your deck does against any, like if you're playing this guy, there are going to be games where he is the game plan. He's the only thing.
I'd agree with that. Absolutely.
You need to make sure you are meaningfully supporting him. And so while, yes, it is awesome that Valentina does that on your own, and yes, you will end up with some clunky draws sometimes, you need that Iron Patriot in there to justify even putting this guy in your deck in the first place. You need more than that Iron Patriot in there. You need to be damn sure that you are supporting this guy in order for him to be active, I want to say 95% of the time before you even make the room in your deck for this to be a thing. You need more than just Valentina. You need more than just Valentina and Iron Patriot. You need more than just Valentina, Iron Patriot, the Hood, and something else. You need like a real commitment to what this guy is going to do. You need to be running like 4 cards that do that. And while it is true that sometimes those cards conflict and you're like, if I'm a full Moon Girl deck, maybe I don't need all of this stuff, you know?
Right.
That is when you are doubling your Gambit. You are doing things like that. If you're playing Moon Girl, maybe you don't necessarily need an Iron Patriot. If you're playing, you know, God forbid, you're playing Moon Girl and Infinity Ultron. I've seen people do stuff like that.
Yeah, I have too.
But I do think that, like, if you're stack ranking the cards you play with this card, and you're like going to create a scatter plot of like, not a scatter plot. What's the one with the lines between it?
All of a sudden my brain went buckshot and I was like, that's wrong. I know what you're,
I don't know.
I know
you know
exactly what you're talking about too.
You know what I mean? Like one of those graphs of like,
there's a lot of dots everywhere. Right.
Yes. The dots with the lines connecting them.
Yes. I got you. Yes.
Valentina is the biggest dot that is associated with this card.
Mm-hmm.
I would be shocked if Iron Patriot was not number 2. I would be shocked. Because yes,
I honestly think Moon Girl is probably number 2 over Iron Patriot. Honestly. And I think
I would like to believe that. I would
was
like
just
to believe
taken off
that.
the chart.
I would like to believe Moon Girl is number 2 over Iron Patriot, but I think that would suggest a level of discipline to this guy that I'm not sure is there, because there are really big incentives for just like, I want to splash a Gambit in my deck. And we're going to need to figure out what the way to do that is, because he's such a powerful tech card that it's going to be worth figuring out what the proper investment on this guy is going to be. Because I think you're wrong about it being Valentina. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think you can't just play this in Valentina and feel good about that. I think you have to supplement it with Iron Patriot, and then you probably need maybe a 3rd or a 4th card. What are those cards?
Right. I'm saying old version of Gambit, when it was only a 5 cost needed, you could play Iron Patriot, Valentina, Gambit as a 3-card package.
I think you needed one more card even then, but it didn't have to be like a big deal. It would be like Hood or Sandstorm or something, just like something that was doing something.
Nominally anything else.
Yeah, just pretty much anything. Maybe, but now I think you need
if you're going to try to refine it to a package, it has to be Valentina. But I don't think you need to. This is where we just disagree. I just think Iron Patriot, it might be an unnecessary, and it'd be a better investment if you're doing it in like, you're doing it in a tournament, you're doing it in Conquest. That makes more sense to have more variation in there. But I think on ladder, you want consistency more than you want.
That's a true thing. I just don't see how it applies to this conversation, because what you want is consistency in activating your Gambit, which Iron Patriot does more of than any card that isn't named Valentina. Like, I don't care what the card is. I care how much it costs. Like, I don't care what it is. It's Century. I'm playing it. I'm good. Like,
but that might actually be part of the core of why and where we're differing, because I see a lot of value in having targeted duplication via a Moon Girl way more than the random higher cost
that's
card.
Not what we're talking about. We're talking about I'm splashing a Gambit. We're not talking about I'm playing Gambit in my Moon Girl deck. That's already locked in.
Yes, but I'm thinking now this version of Gambit, though, is more refined, because now you've taken out that splashability from some of those. Like, I don't think you play Gambit in a Thanos deck the way you used to anymore.
But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, if you're doing that, how do you do it? And your suggestion was it's just Valentina Gambit. And my proposal is that you can't do that, that it has to be more. That if you are splashing a Gambit in your mid-range deck, you have to invest more than just Valentina.
to get the most guaranteed value, I would agree.
Yes,
bare
because like,
minimum,
this is the thing.
The
We
bare
agree
minimum is where we're
Yes,
Yeah.
I think the bare minimum is significantly higher on this card, right?
Right.
It is significantly above Valentina. Like, if you're playing a deck where you're like, I'm going to Frigga my Gambit and Moon Girl my Gambit, okay, that's one thing. But if you're like, I need my Gambit to work, Iron Patriot is still number 2 on that list. Iron Patriot is like, I get it. He sucks. Like, I totally understand where you're coming from, right? Like, I totally understand it. But like, you have to have something that gets you like halfway there or more. You have to, because you have to know it sucks. I get it, but you need this guy to work. You talk about consistency.
Yeah.
He's the guy you need consistency from. And I get it. You'd rather play Valentina 2. Valentina 2 doesn't exist, but he's the guy that needs to be consistently doing a thing. And so I just like that Thanos list. It's gotta play Iron Patriot now. It might have to do something in addition to Iron Patriot. Like, it might have to be like a Merlin Kate Bishop deck, you know, in order to feel good about the things that it's doing there. It might have to additionally supplement what's going on there. That RSM deck doesn't have to do anything because it's RSM.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But like specifically to Thanos deck, because you have an 18 card deck, that I can understand needing the extra reinforcements more so. Versus what we'll call a 12 card build, I don't think you need as many in the way that we were doing it before. I think you refine it a little bit different and have less variations. And it's like, instead of there being 7 versions of the Gambit combo that you can pull together, now I think you've limited it down to like 3 versions.
Again, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think the principles you're saying are incorrect.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
just the conclusions.
I do agree that it would be awesome if I could do that. Like, I would love to be able to do that. But I think I just place a much higher premium on, is the card Gambit working?
Yeah.
Like, if the card Gambit is working, like, imagine a spectrum, right? What is your acceptable percentage of the time this card works? Because for me, it's really damn high is the thing.
Yeah, if I'm playing it on the board, turn 3, turn 4, or better yet, no, it doesn't even matter because you could be doing other shenanigans. But like,
yeah, whenever. Assuming a non-dedicated Gambit deck.
Yeah.
If you're just like, I want to play Gambit because I don't want to lose to Batroc. I'm a deck that has a bad Batroc matchup. I want to beat Batroc. Right. Let me play a Gambit. What percentage of the time are you okay with it not working?
Not working? 20%.
Yeah, not working. Yeah, like for me, it's like 5. Like, that's the difference. Like, it's like, I am absolutely not okay with putting, if I am looking at 20% of the time, my solution to a matchup doesn't work, I'm going for another solution. I'm going to play Supergiant and Shadow King, you know? I'm not living in the world where that thing is not doing its job. You do your job in the deck or you are not in the deck. And so like, that's like sort of the functional thing going on here where it's like, I am so like, I don't know what the odds are of like your Gambit doesn't work if you're just playing Valentina. I would imagine that that's actually pretty easy math to do, but I'm too busy yelling to actually do it. Okay. And that's the core of this podcast.
Good priorities. Argue first, math in the comments. Like, that's how this works.
Actually do research.
Never.
Don't do it.
Don't think. Just
don't
spew.
Yell.
Yeah.
That's the lesson we want you to take from this podcast. Okay. Also, I've seen people talking about, like, this happens a lot. People are like, how do you and guests do it? You just yell at each other all the time. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's fun.
Yeah. Like and it's amazing how, like, to detour for a half a second, though, it's amazing how people, even after last week when we opened and were talking about the ghost tweet, right? And the amount of conversation I saw that came from that in comments, in your videos, in the Discord, in my videos, like, I could not believe the amount of conversation that generated.
Anyway, the lesson here is we're farming you guys for interactions.
Yeah, and it's been working great. So if you want to keep going with it, we're all about that. Just saying.
Please.
But like it blew my mind, the amount of jokes, comments, 14 decks, 3 decks, conversation.
14 decks, baby.
I know. Like it was just, and it is one of those things where I don't know what it's going to take to get people to grasp the fact that just because we're passionate and we disagree, it doesn't mean we don't like each other. Like,
actually, it does. Okay, I don't know if right. Like, let me make this one clear. I show up to this podcast purely out of the hope that today is the day I win an argument. I am driven purely by spite and anger against It's Guest Gaming and you, the viewers.
Do you realize how many arguments you have already won, though?
None of them matter except the next one. You got to have the right grind set, buddy. You don't get it. What argument is the most important one to win? The next one.
All right, MJ. So then here's the case. Here's your next argument.
Never stop grinding. Never.
Let's go to Cannonball.
Sure.
Is this more meaningful than the Gambit change? Yes or no?
No, not even close. I'm sorry. Oh, my card unconditionally blows something up is now 5 power instead of 6 power. Okay. I'm sure you'll stop playing him, right? All right. Okay.
I do think it's meaningful. No, I do think there is some meaning behind it. I think there's one specific conversation piece where we've seen Cannonball progressively go from 5/8 to 7 to 6 to 5. Like he's just progressively lost more and more and more and more power. He's now on par with Negasonic Teenage Warhead. He's now on par with Juggernaut. That's meaningful. And the destruction of the card, the movement of the card, this now, if you're playing it, you're only playing it to destroy. When it was a 5/6, you could play it on 5 to do a movement and you wouldn't feel that bad about it. As a 5/5, it really is not. I could make an argument that's much easier to say the decks that you would want to play Mercury Cannonball, you might want to reconsider and just lean further into like pushing priority for like Negasonic and Alliance type shenanigans, or even more so, because you're only playing Cannonball if you have Mercury down to destroy something. And I just think there are easier steps now at 5 power than that. So I think it's significant because it really, really is pigeonholing him super fine now than it did at 5/6 or higher, because he's now on par with these other cards in power.
I don't think that's wrong, actually. I think that's here's the thing. I don't think that happened at 5/6. I think that happened at 5/7. Like, I think that's when he became, I'm the blow up man, you know? No one's happy to be playing a 5/6 move your guy. Now,
you're
like, it's a thing you did because you were already running the deck, but you were doing that because you were already running the card. Nobody was happy about it. Like, I think the thing you're describing is true. I just think it was already true of this card specifically.
With it going to 5/5, I think it's like, it's just beyond the point of pigeonholed where I do reconsider what I'm playing, because I need to now have 2 purposes to justify also needing to play Mercury, which justifies this card. I need to know that my Mercury movement it's going on to Zombie Scarlet Witch because it's reinforcing the hood, and then I'm moving it off into something that I can do a destruction on, or an Angela, or you get the idea. Like I'm getting a second purpose out of it. The destruction from Cannonball is the destruction from Cannonball. I think the more you lower the power, more you lower the power on Cannonball, the more you depend on getting more out of your Mercury than you did beforehand to justify wanting to play this as a combo card.
I think that's a reasonable thing to say. I would also like to let you know that I found an Aaron Rodgers game jersey for $7.99, a Jets Rodgers jersey. Have fun with that. I sent it to you. Enjoy.
It makes me so happy that you sent that to me. Thank you so much, good sir.
Yeah. Nope. There you go. As far as Cannonball goes, like I do think there's a reasonable world where this is a worse card. I think that you are correct in assessing that Negasonic is the kind of card that might start eating its lunch as like the default boom boom card.
Yeah.
I also think that's kind of already happening. Like it's one of those things where it's like directionally, yes, but I don't think it's because of this change. I think you're already seeing people play like Negasonic in non-supergiant shells and starting to really question, like, what is the actual role of a supergiant? What does supergiant do for the supergiant deck? Which I actually think is a really good question that I have not fully wrapped my head around. Largely, it gets you locking in priority and a couple of different shenanigan things happening that allow you to maybe Cosmo 2 turns of things instead of 1. But like actually asking that question is pretty important because what does it do? It locks in priority. What if you were able to lock in priority anyway and then you could just play Negasonic the actual card? Is it possible Negasonic the card is like woefully underplayed? Yes. So like I think directionally, yeah, the Cannonball could be knocked off his perch as the guy who does this in favor of Negasonic. I just don't know that it's not already true.
It might already be true, but now it's more apparent because now you have the number to say, look, they're both 5 power. Which one makes more sense? Oh, the one that's cheaper. Does my deck lean into priority? Oh, look, it probably does already. Awesome.
What a coincidence.
I saved myself an energy. Ta-da! Like it just, that's what it just seems like.
I believe that.
The only thing that this has going for it is the fact that it targets the highest power card. And that's
that is
when you
quite a thing to have going for it. Yes.
Yeah, but it's something that you do consider of when you're weighing it in. If you're trying to decide between Negasonic, Juggernaut even, or Cannonball, that's something you do have to weigh into your further conversation. Is this going to be a lane winner or is this going to be I'm securing something on turn 5 or turn 4, right? That's got to be how you dictate where your destructions are going to end up being. I do want to rewind, though, back from the negative conversation, because they did an interesting thing that I did not foresee coming with them acknowledging that negative was being changed. And they understand, okay, well, we're changing negative because we got rid of Star-Lord. We are hitting Gorr. Jane Foster's value has gone down. So let's buff Hammer Bros. And they buffed both Thor and Beta Ray Bill, but differently. They gave Thor the +7 from Mjolnir now, and then they gave Beta Ray Bill's Stormbreaker an extra point of power. So,
which is kind of a crazy thing because it's already a very large 0 cost.
It's a 0/4 now, and
it's very odd. Yes,
and I was really sitting on this one because the more I sat on this duo of Thor, Beta Ray Bill, the more I realized that these cards are better than the cards that just released now. You have Thor as a 3/12. That's better than Caliban. You have Beta Ray Bill as a 4/16. That's better than Celine.
Is that not like a sort of gross oversimplification?
But no, not at all, because they're easier to do.
Well, they're not.
You have to play one card.
Yeah, that you just made yourself less likely to draw. Like, I think the downside of the hammers is largely the biggest reason that those decks haven't really meaningfully succeeded. It's because these guys are sort of costed like this is all upside, but blowing a draw in a game where you draw 1 card a turn over 6 turns is really meaningful, especially when you have a really specific curve you want to hit, right? Like, what do you want to do? You want to play a specific card on 3, a specific card on 4, a specific card on 5, but the 2 cards you play on 3 and 4 make you less likely to do that. And God forbid you draw one too early. You got to shuffle it back into the deck somehow. Like,
yes, no, I hear what you're saying though. I hear what you're saying though. But the way I approach Hammer Bros is a little bit different though. If I'm playing Hammer Bros, I'm going for Hammer Bro. I'm going for whichever one I get is the one I'm leaning in on. I'm playing it with King Eitri, obviously, so that way you play the card and immediately draw that thing out. That's it. You're just trying to one to it. Is that not still
like a meaningful downside? You're like, okay, in order to compensate for this downside, I'm running my 1/3.
But it's a 1/3. That could give you a guaranteed 0/4. Would you play King?
Sure. Again, synergy is cool. In order to compensate for this downside, you're running a card like that. What is Doom 2099 deck giving up to get Caliban in there? Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. Zero things. Right? Like absolutely nothing. It's like, what am I going to run instead? Mercury Cannonball? Come on now. Like it's about what you're losing, not what you're gaining. And I think that to talk about these things as if this is not a meaningful downside is to sort of miss why these cards need to get buffed and Caliban probably doesn't. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the numbers, this was already true, right? Thor was a 3/5 getting +6. That's a 3/11.
It was
Caliban's
on
a 3/11.
Right.
Well, clearly, like that's the same thing.
It was that's what I'm saying. It was on par. And now this combo is technically better. And
which indicates that there is something else going on that is making it actually functionally worse, which is the fact that shuffling cards in your deck kind of sucks sometimes.
I think that this highlight of bringing these cards back to the forefront by giving this extra power to Mjolnir and the Mjolnir de facto to Thor and Stormbreaker, it makes me reinvest into it because I look at card combos like we've been doing a lot of Ensabanor stuff, right? I think Ensabanor is something that we haven't gone down the path with. We've been seeing a lot of Jubilee and a lot of Dragon Lord and a lot of like cool combinations. Like I had someone play the wildest combo turn 6 that I had ever seen played against me in a long time because no one knew what was going to happen. They played a Fire Hair on 2. It was a Fire Hair on 2 into Jubilee, puts down a card. And then the Dragon Lord came down on the same lane as the Jubilee, pulls down the Misery, which procs the Jubilee from the Fire Hair side also. And then the Dragon Lord pulls again. It was just like this cycle of cards that were just appearing everywhere.
That's heat.
And it was wild. And it makes me think of something like this, where it wants you to like cycle through cards, whether it's in your hand or in the deck or like. This now makes me want to reinvest back into that type of mindset because now we have cards that we didn't have when we last really tried to maybe kind of make Hammer Bros a thing. And I think that's something that's worth reinvesting into again, because you shouldn't sleep on a 3/12 and you shouldn't sleep on a 4/16. So I just think that these are little sleeper cards that we should just be aware of because we have more tools than we give ourselves credit for sometimes.
I don't know. I am largely of the opinion that these guys are kind of being slept on for a reason that is a good reason. But I'm not saying that like I really like Hammer Bros is the thing because it's kind of like playing Sarah Control, right? But like whenever you build a Hammer Bros deck, there's sort of two paths in front of you. And one of them is you can play it as Sarah Control. And the other one is you can play it as an Odin combo deck, right? Like an Odin Wong, a Misery deck, a Fire Hair deck, whatever, right?
Right.
The problem with the archetype is largely that if you're going to be an Odin Wong deck, it is typically better to play one that is more reliable. If you're going to be a deck of that ilk, you would rather be one that has a less telegraphed game plan and a higher point ceiling. If you're going to be a Sarah deck, that's actually more of a problem of they nerfed all the tech cards that allowed you to do something like do you remember when we had 2-cost Shadow King, Shang-Chi, and then some hammers on the final turn of the game? It was beast mode. It was unbelievable. Yeah. We had it so good as Hammer Bros mains. We had everything going for us. But the thing about the old days is they're the old days.
Mm-hmm.
And in as much as I love Hammer Bros, I love playing it. you kind of end up as bad combo Wong deck, or maybe better, actually, not sure, Sarah control type deck, but that archetype doesn't exist. Yeah. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, if you want me to actually be excited about Hammer Bros, make Thor a 2, make Beta Ray Bill a 3. Like, give me more turns to draw them naturally and let me build my deck around that, instead of just being like, if I don't play Jane Foster, I'm blowing 50 draws this game. Like, I don't know. It's probably not the thing they can do, but like, could Beta Ray Bill be a 3/6?
Probably not.
It does seem kind of risky, right? Like, you probably have to like take a bunch of the power off the Stormbreaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like 3/6, 0/1 Stormbreaker, and then Thor 2/3 +8. You know what I mean? Like, that's, if you want me to like start caring about,
I think 2/3 +6, so that way he's a 2/9. Yeah.
If you want me to start caring about this stuff again, though, like, that's the level of changes you're going to have to make, because I think, unfortunately, this is a pretty well-worn road, and I'm not even sure those changes would do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I kick around stuff like Thor's for faux TAs pretty often, and I haven't gotten anywhere that feels better than what I just said. But what I just said, I don't think it would even make the cut for one of my faux TAs, because I don't think it feels good enough. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I'm trying to solve a problem and I've identified what that problem is, and I've said, okay, that's just a fundamental part of what this archetype is, and you have to live with it, just making the stuff cheaper doesn't really do as much to solve that problem as I would like. And I don't want to like waste real estate in a faux TA on like just putting better numbers on a card, you know?
Yeah, no, I get it. You're looking for meaningful changes to the functionality of the deck, not just the cost or the power of the deck. Like, what does that truly do to it? Like, if you had the ability to know, there was some kind of draw consistency, or there was some kind of, auto duplication, extra effect, type thing. Like, I could see this like future Asgardian objective card where it's like, play 3 Asgardians, give all your Asgardians, +4 extra power. And then all of a sudden, hey, Beta Ray Bill just turned into a 4/10 that's going to double now. Like that kind of stuff I could see being like, that's what makes the deck functionally better. But I think we're now in a place, because we have these other tools like Dragon Lord and Ensabanor, that maybe we just spend a little bit of time seeing if there's some extra viability in there that we didn't have previously. Sure. And that's what I'm excited to go down and really figure out, where this deck currently sits in today's Marvel Snap versus the last time I played Hammer Bros, which was months ago, probably at least 6, 7, 8 months ago, minimum. Like, it's been a hot minute. So this extra power makes me curious to try the cards out. Which of these changes makes the least impact? Or means, better yet, let me reword this. Which of these changes means the least?
Bill.
Say again?
Bill.
Oh, no, I was going to give you 3 options, not just Beta Ray Bill.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give you 3 options from the OTA. Which of these means the least? Giving an extra power to Strange Supreme, giving an extra power to Weapon X, or taking a power off of Frigga'n.
Okay, so it's definitely not Frigga, because I'm going to play her in Cerebro 3. So that's actually super meaningful. Thank you for doing that. It is probably going to be Strange Supreme.
Okay. I'm actually surprised you didn't say Weapon X.
I just think Weapon X is like, is it enough to make Weapon X good? No. But the bad Weapon X draws, you're much more okay with him being a 2/6 or whatever than if your Strange Supreme is a 2/6, you probably lost the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know if that's a fully logical statement. Like, you could try to drag me over that one. I think if you wanted to, you could. Like, I've certainly dragged you over less I'm just letting you know you have the opportunity if you want to rake me over the coals or, look like a better person. You have that opportunity too. You can be like, I won't do this to you. But
I like all the options that are in front of me, but here's what I'll just say and said simply.
Smorgasbord.
So I spent pretty much my entire last stream playing Weapon X. I was doing Phantom X Weapon X decks because originally the concept came to me playing a bunch of squirrels and rocks, and I needed ways to bring them and do something with them because I was trying to do something for Selene, which is just a god awful card. And the deck that I tried before it that didn't have Selene in that variation of Weapon X Phantom X did better than when I added Selene into the deck. So then I just continued down that path of refining it further and further and further and further. And the further I went down that path of like Phantom X, Weapon X, the more I realized that is its only home. It because you play Morgan Le Fay. And that combination in that deck actually worked out beautifully for Weapon X because this week it's all rocks everywhere. So you're playing Killmonger to destroy all the rocks everywhere. And you're helping yourself because you're bringing all your stuff back with Morgan Le Fay and you're activating half of your Phantom X. Like, it was just everything kind of lined up perfectly for this deck this week to be good. And it was the only week that I would recommend playing.
Yeah, we finally
Weapon
got
X.
to the truth of it. He was Killmongering everyone's Ozymandias decks.
It was a big part of it. I know what the hell I was doing. I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew damn well what I was doing because look, Ozymandias, which was a better release this week, people are playing more rocks.
Your Honor.
So blow them the fuck up. Like, I'm sorry,
Your
just
Honor.
blow them up.
Your Honor, opposing counsel has admitted. I think that's viable. I just largely think that it's one of those, you kind of buried the lead there. Sure. Acceptable. I don't know. I just think that if you made Weapon X a 2/4, I'd be like, that's a perfectly acceptable card. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
2/3, it's not, but it's just like with Strange Supreme, I think that you are so much less happy with the low rolls on a Strange Supreme, largely because of how the deck plays out, right? When you're doing Strange Supreme stuff, you want him to come down as early as possible and to start stacking things up as early as possible because, and this is crucial, your late turns are often incredibly spoken for. Strange Supreme on the other is also much like Weapon X being pushed against by some of the deck, right? Which is to say, you're an Aurora deck. You don't particularly love eating your Aurora targets with a Strange Supreme. Like, it's kind of a net neutral swing for you. It's not as good as it used to be, relatively speaking. But it is generally, I think, a lot easier to do something like Weapon X Killmonger on your turn 5 into 1-drop Sholau on your turn 6. And have Weapon X be like a meaningfully contributable piece of what you're doing than it is to play a Strange Supreme on 5 into something that feels good about it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's that big of a difference, though. A lot of the things I'm saying about Strange Supreme are also kind of true about Weapon X. Just the more you increase his downside risk, the more you're like, okay, if I play this guy with a Killmonger, let's say I have 6 energy, right? Because I blew up a X-23. I got 6 energy on 5. I play 1-drop Weapon X Killmonger. It's kind of embarrassing, but at least he's like a 2/6. And the bigger number that is, the happier I am with it. At least like a 2/6, at least like a 2/7, at least like a 2/8, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly he's not an embarrassing card at all. And there are numbers they can do with that push him that direction. Strange Supreme is just like, no, that card is pretty good. And it's already going to be pretty good at doing what it wants. This additional power doesn't meaningfully change how I feel about it. And I don't know what would, in terms of additional power, meaningfully change it. Whereas I think Weapon X, any power is meaningful to it because of how often it has none.
Yeah. And I think, because we've talked about it in the past, where I feel like the solution I had proposed last time was you just start them immediately at +2 power, ignore the first 3 +1s and just have them immediately start at +2. Yeah. There is another solution to him, which is to remove the first couple of words in there So instead of it being after one of your other cards is destroyed, just literally switch it up to after a card is destroyed. So now it's both sides of the battlefield. Then you're looking at some real interesting stuff because now you've got extra pieces that you're focusing on. You're looking at even things like Luna Snow because it's proccing off on your Weapon X on both sides rather than just one side. You're looking at White Widows because they're trying to get rid of it and it's reinforcing your Weapon X. Like those are the kinds of things where I feel like Weapon X could have more value because it gives more deck building options rather than just I'm playing Destroy, because Destroy does not want this card. Adjunct Destroy wants this card.
Yes. Agree.
But it is fun, not gonna lie.
It is very fun.
He's not good, but he's fun.
Been there.
I want to rewind back to your comment though about Frigga'n now going to 3/3 and this going to Cerebro 3, where I'm not going to lie, I have already recorded my video that I'm going to release. Did not even think of that. And
owned. Go quick. Get that recording in there.
Not at all. No, I'll just let this happen the next day. No, I'm not going to go edit it. No. And
that's crazy.
You know, because my thoughts were my thoughts were my thoughts. This was your thought. And I'm happy that you have now said that, because now I'm like, oh, that's a really interesting line for this card, because that might fix the potential like Bastion-ish of it, where I don't think you play both. I think you just potentially just play this. And it's a
big deal, dude. Gambit copying in C3 is like a huge, horrendous thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that now too. Yeah.
Yeah, you're playing a Gambit, you Bastion the Gambit, you Frigga the Bastion the Gambit, you play the Gambit on the final turn of the game, your opponent cries themselves to sleep. I mean, I think this is probably, like, you asked me what the second most impactful thing in here is. I think this is a pretty good bet.
I had it lower in my overall ranking just because I didn't think that this changes anything about the card. Like, you still play everywhere you were playing this card, you still play this card, and it doesn't change the value of what the card is. I did not think about specifically Cerebro 3, where this is adding tremendous value to that deck, which is already a great deck. And it's to be clear, it is a difficult deck, but it is already a good deck. And it doesn't make it any easier. It just makes it more flexible in its difficulty. And that's a scary thing for an advanced player, to have that much flexibility in that type of deck.
It's definitely something. Like, it's quite a scary thing to do, I suspect.
Random side story, was playing a match earlier, and it made me realize that M'Baku is as good as he is in Cerebro, because I was facing Cerebro 3. As good as M'Baku is, he actually doesn't do everything you want him to do, because I was playing the Phantom X deck and I got my Phantom X to pop off. So Phantom X pops off, it ruins their thing. They didn't have Luke Cage down, so it ruins their whole front line. They're losing the left lane and the middle lane, but they're winning the right lane because it had nothing buffing on it. So and I put nothing in there. It was winning 2-0. The other two lanes had 8 power. And then M'Baku shows up and he jumps to the 2 power lane because it's the lowest power lane and it's the only lane that they were already winning.
Yeah,
and it got
Captain
the Cerebro
Marvel
buff. Yeah, and he got the Cerebro buff. It was like, oh man, that's an awful caveat. But it's something that's interesting about M'Baku, that maybe it should have that extra little caveat where it's like the lowest power lane that you're losing.
You want him to actually Captain Marvel, bro. Like, come on.
The lowest power lane that he's a 1/3.
You can't put
the lowest power lane that you're already losing. Like, I think it would be nice. They would have won if it did that.
Good. I think M'Baku is exactly the kind of card where you do not ever want him to be anything more than meme tier, because if he's ever more than meme tier, it's the most annoying shit on earth.
Annoying, but fun for a week, and that's about it. But yeah, no, Cerebro 3
for one person for 1 week. Yes,
exactly. Frigga Cerebro 3. Yeah, I had not thought about that.
Yep, pretty scary.
That is a scary addition to that deck. Minus that deck makes
everything else minus that deck, nothing else. But like that deck specifically, it's like, oh wow, I really wish they didn't do that.
This was another one of those cards I had in that giant, like, you really want to shake up the meta, here's what you do thing. Like I wanted them to address Frigga and I wanted them to address Gambit, but not in the ways that they did in this OTA. I had basically both at 4/6.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like, I kind of want that to happen, but like, ooh, baby, I do not like that.
Yeah, I mean, as awful as it would be for the value of those cards, it refines what its value is. Like, if you're playing card duplicators, you want specific card duplicators on specific turns because it enables the duplication, right? Like the fact that we have Frigga, Joe Costa, we've talked about this at length, like all of them at 3 cost is ridiculous. And their value is just way too high. And this going to 3/3, if they thought that this was a nerf, it did nothing to nerf the card. It just made another deck better. And
I'll push back on that. I'll push back on that. I think largely the problem with duplicators is that they were given a lot of extra power, right? These cards came out and no one was excited for them. People got excited for the Grandmaster and then they were like, wait, I've learned my lesson. These cards suck if they don't have stats. So when you go down the line of these cards, Grandmaster got given 3 points of power. Absorbing Man got given 2 points of power. Frigga got given a point of power, right? They got these buffs largely in the context of a world where tech was good. This was a world before Invisible Woman First Steps, before End of Turn was a major thing, before that started pushing Shang-Chi out, before that started making tech worse. They got these buffs in a world where tech was a big and meaningful factor in the game. And one of the things that changed was that not only did tech become less of a factor in the game, but like there still aren't really good ways to tech against End of Turn. You know what I mean? Like the card that's supposed to tech against End of Turn really sucks. There's not a good way to tech against Objective. There's no like ghost for that. There Activate Super Adaptoid really sucks, right? Like in as much as there are like these things have come out and largely been immune to traditional tech, not like fully, like obviously, you know, you want to beat End of Turn, you play Super Giant, right? You can beat Gambit by playing things that beat the output of Gambit, like big cards, right? But again, there's not like a one size fits all solution the way there used to be. And these cards got those buffs in the environment where that one-size-fits-all solution. Shang-Chi and Shadow King basically covered everything. Shang-Chi, Enchantress, Shadow King, Zabu, cover whatever you want. That's the whole game. Covers everything. We have not been in that world for a while, and these cards got those buffs when we were in that world. It makes sense to roll it back. Like, to me, it makes perfect sense to be like, let's take Frigga, dial it back. Let's say we don't want to put it in, like, let's say we don't want to immediately murder Frigga. Okay, we won't 3/2 her immediately. We'll 3/3 her. If Cerebro 3 becomes a problem, we can fix that. Like that kind of thing where it's like, okay, acceptable. Not the one I would have started with, but I would imagine there's a combined Gambit and we'd like to dial back the doublers kind of thing going on here. And so she seemed like a natural place to start. Where it's like, okay, nerf Star-Lord, we don't need to nerf Grandmaster and Absorbing Man again. So like, that seems ridiculous. Why would we do that until it's actually a problem? Let's nerf the one that's working with Gambit. So we're going to nerf that. Here's my proposal. This is what I would like to think about. What does the world where they don't nerf Frigga look like?
The ceiling goes too high for power, and the ceiling gets too low for card creativity.
Right. Like just baseline. This is a directionally correct thing to do. What about like right now though? Because like, what if it was a choice between doing the Frigga nerf and then nerfing Gambit a little bit, or nerfing Gambit a lot and leaving Frigga 3/4 because you're afraid of C3? Or not nerfing Gambit at all, but putting Frigga to 3/2. Let's say those are the options on the table.
No, I see what you're saying.
I think this is probably the right one to do if you're thinking about it like that. Like if it were me, maybe I'd 3-2 Frigga, but I think I'm probably way higher on how bad those cards are than anyone else. You know what I mean? Like I think that would be the one that would receive the worst public outcry. Whereas at least this is a nerf that doesn't even look like a nerf. It's a nerf that makes a significant portion of players, Cerebro players, really happy. Is that not kind of upside? And to be clear, I want to be clear. I would say, no, it's not, because I hate that deck. And you've just made that deck show up a lot more times, and it's a big pile of shit. But it's at least worth considering.
But if, to be fair, if a card change happened to either Frigga, Jocasta, any of these card duplicators, if it happened to any other card and buffed any other deck, I'd probably be more upset. Out of all of the decks it could buff, Cerebro 3, it is probably one of the most difficult decks to pilot properly on ladder. It gets a lot easier in Conquest, in my opinion, because you know your matchup and you start playing around certain things and you kind of get better over time. When you don't know what your matchup is, and there's too many location variances in combination with too many card variances that are happening when you're getting random matchups every single game, I think that Cerebro 3 is a much better tournament deck than it is on ladder. And I think that it is a difficult deck in both settings. Because if you look at the win rates on the deck, no matter when it's like back in November, right? When Zapgaze won with Cerebro 3, and Manny was like, it is a really tough deck. It is a really, really tough deck to do properly and to manipulate around. And he was even playing up against Red Skulls and needing to manipulate and try and figure it out. It is a difficult deck to play around, even when you know your matchup.
That's why I think it's such a harder deck in Conquest, is because there's going to be legit unwinnables in Conquest, where like the premise of Cerebro on ladder is like they happen, but you are a sort of Mr. Negative type deck. You snap and retreat out of it, right? In Conquest, I think it stresses your skills so much more. Like you talk about Mani, right? Like the way he talks about the deck, winning the games where you don't have Cerebro are incredibly important. That's an incredibly high skill thing in Conquest. On ladder, you don't even have to do that. You don't have to win those games. You just have to get more cubes in the ones that you do win. You know what I mean?
I do think you're undervaluing a bit of how snaps play in Cerebro specifically, and the value of Conquest in and of itself. Because when you're playing this deck on ladder, there's always a risk, whether you're trying to reach infinite or you're trying to climb up in the infinite ladder. In Conquest, if you're playing this deck, there's also a lot less pressure in specifically trying to get this deck to work.
What is the risk you're referring to on ladder that does not exist in Conquest?
That doesn't exist in Conquest? Literally,
you said when you're playing this deck on ladder.
I'd say if you lose in ladder, like you're trying to climb to infinite. We'll start in that section first. You're trying to climb to infinite. You retreat for 1, retreat for 1, retreat for 2, retreat for 1, win 8. Yeah. Right? That's the mindset. In a Conquest match, snap equity is much higher, and you can win more on snap equity moves with a deck like that than you can on ladder.
Why is snap equity higher in Conquest?
For this deck, I'm talking specifically for Cerebro 3.
I'm not arguing against you. I'm asking you to tell me why.
No. The reason I think it's higher in Conquest is because, one, you know what your matchup is by, roughly most of your matchup by, let's say, the second game. You know at least 75% of the deck. And from there, you immediately start making earlier assessments of, this is what I'm needing to play around, minus location variance. Removing that one piece changes your snap equity on opening turns to be able to snap people out and steal free cubes. You can't do that on ladder.
I think that's where we're differing here. I think any high-level Cerebro player is doing that on ladder. More than that, I think what makes a lot of Cerebro players who are playing on ladder very good is that they're very willing to bluff snap against players they know will respect those bluff snaps. And I'm not saying this is a strategy that necessarily works for everybody, because a lot of people won't respect a bluff snap, right? But like, you look at a Jay Walla specifically, that dude bluff snaps all the time against anyone who knows what they're doing. There's a lot of bluff snaps mixed in because we all know what he's doing. And
that's the point, though. That's a huge difference, though.
But you're talking about equity, right? Like, that equity is there as long as you can understand what level you're playing against, right? And I think that equity is there for anyone who plays the deck largely if they expect their opponent to be a smart player. And that's not rank dependent necessarily. Like, you're talking about it like being, I guess what I'm getting at is you're talking about it like being more sure of these things is equity. But it's not. Those things are already true. Like, being sure that you can snap is not the same as actually doing the snap correct. It might mean you're snapping late. Oh, it's early in the game and I've drawn my Cerebro, so I feel confident snapping because I know my opponent isn't one of the decks that counters me. Sure. But on ladder, you should still feel confident snapping that, because most of the time, it's not going to be one of the decks that counters you. You are still going to be favored in those situations. You just have to think about it across the entire metagame. Instead of knowing for a fact that you can snap and bully people out, you mostly have to be like, well, I think I can. But, you know, looking at the overall metagame and what my opponent has played, it's turn 2 or whatever, I drew my Cerebro, they played a Craven the Hunter. I've got a pretty good idea I'm going to outpower them. I know what my deck does, right?
Right.
You should be doing that kind of stuff very early anyway, is what I'm saying. You should be more willing to risk that stuff. And in Conquest, yes, it's safer. You're more positive about it.
Right.
But if you're looking at the metagame and you're like, it's turn 1, I have Cerebro. You know, maybe I don't want to snap because I'm worried about my cube equity. You know, I don't want to run out of cube equity on these locations. You know, I'm going to get screwed if I snap on 2. But that should probably factor into your decision to snap. I'm going to take a gamble here and say, you know, I think I'm 60% to win this game. Where in Conquest, maybe I would know I'm 100% to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
But being 60% to win this game is still you snapping. That's kind of what I'm getting at here.
If you're snapping first, I agree with you. Second, no. But yes.
Sure. But like, because generally if they're snapping, it's implying some kind of knowledge that maybe you do not have. And it is worth considering why they are doing that. But like, I think what you're saying is like, it's easier to play the deck in Conquest. And I think it's easier to bully snap, and you're more able to access that part of the deck. But that power is still there on ladder. And a lot of why Cerebro is good is because it has so many matchups that are just like overpoweringly good for you.
Yeah.
Like, so much of why it's good is like against entire sectors of the metagame you cannot lose. And so like that's where a lot of your snap equity should come from on ladder. You're not going to be 100% sure, but if you're like 70% sure, 70 is a big number. I'll snap on a 70.
Yeah. No, it's something I've been trying to talk to the community about as well. When I see an opportunity to talk about EV.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. You just reminded me. Someone linked me this and I completely spaced it. I was supposed to do this so much earlier in the podcast. Hold on. Oh God, I have, oh God, hold on. I got a clip of you, an EV conversation that we've got to have a conversation about. The EV, you did an EV YouTube short called What Did We Learn? Here it is.
Ah, yes.
We've got to talk about this.
Wait.
We've got to talk about this. Can you put it on the screen?
I can. Yeah.
Okay.
I know what you're
this is
referring
this is actually like, it actually is related. I totally forgot about this. But
that's just, we're going full circle now. But yes, okay, hold on. I'll pull it up here and we can put it onto the screen. Okay. Yes.
Look at your metrics. God damn. Look at beasting over here. Look at you.
10K in 7 days, not bad. I'm not upset about it.
I mean, I don't do shorts, so I don't actually know what a good number is, but I see 10K and I'm like, hey, nice job, man.
Yeah, all right. For me, that's not bad. All right, but playing the audio of it here first, just for the podcast.
Yep. Pause it. The equity value of 4 cubes is not a 50-50 here. That's what I wanted to talk about. So when you're talking about EV, you have to talk about what you have right here is a scenario where you are 33% to win the game. Yes? You think if you hit that Fin Fang Foom with that Zola, you're winning the game. That's the premise.
That is the premise. I have a 33% chance to hit that because it's 1 of 3 with Arnim Zola in a stacked lane. Correct.
Right. So you are able to do one of 2 things. You either commit to that 33%er, which has a 33% chance of winning 4 cubes, or a 66% chance of losing 4 cubes, or you can leave and guarantee a locked-in -2. Correct?
Yes, those are your 3 options.
Right.
Outcomes.
So
yeah.
Yes, but there's really only 2 options, even though there are 3 outcomes. Your choice is only one of those 2 things. So the way this math works is you take the potential outcome and you multiply it by the chance to happen. So you take that 4 cubes that you'll win if you hit your 1 and 3, and you multiply it by the 33% chance. So you end up with 1.33. And then you take the 4 cubes that you'd lose when you don't hit your 1 and 3, you multiply it by the 66% chance. It's 2.66. So negative 2.66. So the EV of staying is negative 1.33 cubes. The EV of leaving is a guaranteed -2. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, so I'm looking at it more as the perspective of not outcome, but pot odds in risk.
Go on.
So I might be using, so if you have a maximum pot of 8 cubes that you can be betting, if you're already, like in the example I have here, I'm already committed for 2, going for a final of 4 at the current moment.
Yep.
The pot is currently saying to me, it is a 25% pot at the moment. If I were to walk away, I'd be losing 25% of the pot. -2 out of 8, right? Then from there, if I stay, I have a 33% chance to hit the card. If I stay and win, I'm winning 4 cubes. I'm trying to hit that number, which means that if I need to have a 50% chance to technically justify staying, I need to say, I have a 50% chance out of all of the current outcomes that I can project to say that it is logical for me to stay because it is either even or better value.
Right. But
if
what
I
I'm
stay
saying
versus
is
what I retreat.
Right. But again, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't need to be 50-50. The break-even point is not 50-50. You are pot committed. Those 2 cubes are locked in. Those 2 cubes are happening regardless.
But I said the 4. I'm talking about the 4 for the win.
I'm talking about the 2 that are already in the pot. Yes. Your decision right here is whether or not you want to risk losing 4 on a 33% chance to win 4. That is compared versus guaranteeing not losing 4 by going for the -2 retreat. What I'm saying is the actual break point of staying in this situation is not 50-50. Mathematically, the actual break point of staying in this situation is if you think you have like a 25% chance to win, you are supposed to stay. If it gets lower than that, Well, then you start looking at, I'm going to retreat because the guaranteed -2 starts to outweigh the potential chance to actually win. But you have a 33% chance to win 4 here. That represents some real value. What I'm saying is you're actually being too risk averse when you're doing your math. Not that you made the correct decision later in the video to just be like, hell yeah, let's go. I'm a content creator. That's super valid.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the math here supports staying anyway. You're supposed to stay here. You are. Like you just actually are. You are supposed to stay. Because retreating locks in -2, and you have a 33% chance at a +4. And so you end up with the equity value of staying is 0.66 cubes higher than the equity value of retreat.
I'm going to have to re-listen to this entire thing again. From you specifically.
It's dumbass math stuff, basically.
No. And I would rather be clarified to get it right. If I said, especially when it comes to math, I'd rather have it right and be told I was wrong and show the proof. So if this math is wrong, I want to know that. I'm not like upset, like, or going to argue it. I'm having difficulty wrapping my head around where your points are and where you're targeting your risk in pot odd and chance and opportunity versus where I'm looking at 2, 4, 8 in the what we'll call 25, 50, 75 risk assessment.
Here,
that's where I think
I'll send it to you on Discord. Hopefully a visual representation might be a little bit more helpful. But basically, you have a 1/3 chance to win, which would represent 4 cubes won. So if you stay, the EV of this happens 1/3 of the time is positive 1.33 cubes. The losing the 2/3, that happens 2/3 of the time. You multiply the 4 cubes you would lose by the 2/3% of that happening. So you get negative 2.67.
I hope the podcast listeners have a whiteboard out right now and they're following along at home. Just to clarify, I'm curious how they're all keeping up. If you are keeping up, please type everything you're hearing in the comments so we can keep reading it repeatedly too.
So the EV of retreating is a guaranteed -2 cubes.
Right.
You want to stay if the expected value of a stay is greater than -2 cubes, which is to say more positive.
Right.
You calculate the expected value of a stay by taking your percentage chances to win multiplied by the stakes versus your percentage chances to lose multiplied by the stakes. Your percentage chances to win are 33%. Again, we're going to assume you are actually going to win if you Arnim Zola this. We're going to assume they don't have Eliath. We're going to assume they don't have Cosmo. Those are all things you should be thinking of when you do math like this. When you do this kind of thing, you have to think about it in terms of the expected value of the cubes. So your expected value, if you hit that 1 in 3, you're winning 4 cubes, but that only happens 1/3 of the time. So that is 1.33 cubes or 1 1/3 cubes because it's only happening 1/3 of the time. When you stay and lose 2.66 cubes, again, you're losing 4 cubes. You are going to lose those 4 cubes 66% of the time. So you have you have the negative 2.66 cubes that represents your loss effectively.
I see what you're saying.
And then you have
here.
the positive 1.33 cubes that represents your win. That is negative 1.33 cubes. It's not a good thing to stay. Yes, it's not a good thing to stay. You are in the realms of negative value. But it's better than -2 locked in at 100%, which is what retreating is.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you gain 0.66 cubes of equity by staying there. It's the right thing to do. It's just really hard. It's a really hard thing to do to convince your monkey brain to do that. Like, it's really hard to do.
Monkey brain don't do math well. Monkey brain struggle.
Like, no, I saw that and I was like, this is such a good topic for the podcast. And then I forgot about it for an hour and a half because I'm a dumbass idiot.
You just have a monkey brain.
Yes, I have a monkey brain. But like this stuff is like the break point, for the record, for anyone wondering, is mathematically, and this is not getting into like whether or not you can actually assess the game state accurately to say that these are your actual chances, right? Yeah. Like that's a big part of this is like, is there a reason you would expect your opponent to be able to play something that makes these chances meaningfully different? What sort of like ballpark chance would you give to the idea that you're wrong about your assessment, that you're going to win this 1/3 of the time and lose this the other 2/3 of the time? Right. You have to be, the more correct you are about those things, the more this is going to apply. Right. And so if you are incorrect about assumptions and you blow things like this, it's like, that's real. That's like, it's going to happen. But baseline, if you are ever in a situation where you are positive that you have a 33% chance to win if you stay, you're supposed to. You're supposed to.
For 4.
Yeah, for 2. The math works for 2.
Well, for 2, for 4, like, not math. For 8.
You just yes, for 8. You multiply the math. It's the same thing. It's math. Like it would just be you'd change the 4 here to 8. And then it would be an EV of -2. You would gain 2.66 cubes. You would be losing, when you lose, -5 point whatever cubes. You're not supposed to snap back, to be clear. That's what you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to snap back. But if it was already pot committed to 8, like if you had both snapped on 5 and you were already pot committed and the situation was the same, but the numbers were doubled, you would be supposed to stay. You are not supposed to snap. You are not supposed to accept a snap.
Right.
But if that's where we're at, that's where we're at.
This needs to be its own video.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, dude.
No, it's fine. Don't be sorry because, okay, I'm the nerd here in that sense where I enjoy trying to wrap my head around something if I am looking at it through the incorrect lens, specifically when it comes to chances, math, pot odds, things of that nature. So if I'm looking at it wrong, I have no problem listening to it and getting it right. You know, it's one of the reasons I think so many people love reading the articles from Lauren Whatevs, because she'll do breakdowns on these kinds of things and people really read into, you know, every potential possibility number and thing that it creates that intrigue for some people because they become a better player and or they just have more knowledge about whatever they're passionate about. In this case, Marvel Snap. And I remember, oh my God, who the hell was the guy? Do you remember like 3 years ago, somebody used to do chalkboard videos that was like this? Like, what is the actual value of Quicksilver?
Mathematical snapistician. That guy's still in my Discord.
No,
I think there's also
I want to say his name was.
Oh yes. I remember. I just want to, before we get off the topic of math.
Yes,
there is something that's important here, which is also the final turn double. Like you are supposed to treat that in the same way as you treat this, right? Like you are supposed to like that. Like I realize I am vastly oversimplifying. Yes, I realize like I'm vastly oversimplifying this here, but generally speaking, a lot of the time, like you look at the final turn double, right? It's the same math, but with 2 and 1. And this is how you're supposed to approach the final turn double instead. Like, are you going to guarantee locking in -1, or do you think you have like a reasonable enough chance to win the game to justify staying in for the increased stakes? And the point I'm making here is that according to math, the number you need to justify winning is actually kind of a lot lower than you think. The number you need to justify staying. The number you need to justify staying is a lot lower than you think. The doubled stakes, you know, like there's definitely things that are going on here that should affect your risk aversion. But I bring this up just to say that like this kind of EV math is actually something you should be doing. Like I'm a very not brave snapper. I don't snap a lot when I'm favored. I don't stay a lot when I should. That is not because I know better than math. It's because I'm wrong. My little monkey brain is wrong. The math is right. That's what this is.
And yet, my monkey brain was doing math like that, and I sit at rank 5,000. Your monkey brain does your math and makes those choices and sits at rank 5. So
it's been a while since it's been rank 5.
Okay, fine. 67.
60, yes. Like well, the thing is, like, if I had to guess what the difference is, it's that I'm probably significantly better at actually estimating what my chances are at any given time. Like, if you're asking, like that's sort of like a pure distillation of what being good at Marvel Snap is.
Yeah.
Is being good at understanding what your actual chances are at any given time. A lot of that is informed by context, metagame stuff, right? Like, you're talking about how, by the time you're in game 2 of a conquest, you have a better idea of what your opponent is playing. My job effectively is, like, when I'm playing at a high level, I should know what my opponent is playing by turn 2.
Right.
I should have narrowed it down to like 10% of the metagame by the time I see a second turn, right? And that's the kind of stuff that gives you a more informed ability to interact with the system. But largely, all I'm getting at here is you should probably be cope staying more. Math says you're supposed to cope stay. That's all I'm saying.
You mean we're
Math
supposed
is
to
telling you to cope stay?
You mean you were actually supposed to enjoy turn 6 and see turn 6?
Math, like, genuinely,
what is this concept?
Genuinely, like, if you want to talk about flaws in Marvel Snap, one of the flaws in Marvel Snap is giving people the option to retreat games they're supposed to stay in. Yeah. Like, genuinely, there is something to be said for this as a game design thing, where it's like, you have given people the option to be risk averse and not do math properly, and that has actively hurt the game. I'm not saying they need to, like, God forbid, they definitely don't need to get rid of that ability. Agency is good, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
But, like, there is something to the idea that I strongly suspect players retreat more than is mathematically optimal. I strongly suspect that to be true.
And it's also one of the things that, kind of leaning into that conversation of why Snap is Snap and the ceiling is much lower and the floor is much higher, is because of the element of RNG, both in card and location, that keeps those a lot closer than other games. Like,
yeah, like I think also, like, it's almost a little bit unfair to use your example, because your example is maybe the most clear 1 in 3 in the history of 1 in 3s, and almost all of them are never that clear.
I know that. It's literally because I was in the middle of the live stream and I was like, I'm going to talk about my 1 in 3 here. Yeah. It just happened.
The clearest. It is the clearest possible. There will almost never be a clearer opportunity to apply this math. So, like, it is a little unfair to use that as an example, I think. But, like, that 1 in 3 thing specifically is like, you're not supposed to leave there. Like, you're talking about it, the whole thing, like, you're supposed to leave. You need a 50% chance to stay. No, you are supposed to do that. You are supposed to do exactly what you did, except for the part where you snapped because it's funny. But that is also what you're supposed to do because you're a content creator. Either way, the point is, you're absolutely supposed to take that.
But I made sure with the short that I put the caveat in there to let you know. I'm doing this because I'm a content creator, because my understanding of this was I should retreat. And that was the case. And that's it. And,
it gets a little muddier
hits the floor
when you get to the top end of ladder, when you start taking into account, like, SP gains, right? So, like, when I win an 8-cuber, I get like 20 SP. When I lose an 8-cuber, I lose like 28, right? And that changes the EV math of this kind of stuff significantly towards retreating. Like, it pushes you more.
The whiteboard is full, buddy. Let's not add more numbers to this for those who are in the podcast. Okay,
I will write it all on my terribly painted wall next time. I will
please do
with a permanent marker on my horrendous wall. No, I should have made a video about this. It's fine. I won't ever do it. But this is just like, if you think about things just with the basic analysis of what is the reward if I win, and then the percentage chance of if I win, versus what is the punishment if I lose versus the percentage chance of if I lose, and then compare that to what folding would mean. Like, pretty straightforward from there.
So what we're saying is, somewhere in the next 2 weeks, there's going to be a collab video with you and Lauren Whatevs to explain all this.
Lauren can do it. Lauren's a much better math person than me. Lauren is absolutely would do this justice in a way that I would not. If Lauren wants to ghostwrite me a vid, I will happily do it. But, like, you can see how unconfident I am in talking about this. And I feel like this is like, I have a degree in economics. This is like a thing I should be much more confident in talking about. But I'm just so afraid of saying something wrong, getting murdered in the comments. I don't want to do that, right? Lauren will actually check her work and like isn't just riffing on a podcast the way I am.
Because the worst thing that could possibly happen is you get called out on your podcast for having raw math.
Okay, well, when you put it like that, I sound like an asshole. Come on.
No, but
you can edit this out. Seriously, like feel free to edit this out. It's totally fine.
No, not at all. No.
Okay.
You're not an asshole. I've already clarified
No, it's like
that.
It's something I think low key. I think people don't get this about this podcast is that anything that makes it to air is something guest has approved to make it to air.
This is true. 100%. There's been very few things that we've actually cut out.
Yeah. But it's the same thing with me. Like, remember when you showed up on my show and you made me look like an idiot? And I was like,
yes,
I was like, what a fucking what? And people were like, what a fucking idiot. And it was like, I put that on my channel knowing it made me look stupid, right? Like I did that.
We are content creators. We know what goes on our channel. We have choice. We have agency.
I'm an adult.
Do you not? Our job. Okay, perfect example. Our job is to get you as an audience to interact with us. Did you see Dexter's tweet today? It was fucking genius. If you want to talk about the ultimate, you want to talk the biggest Marvel Snap troll, perfect type of engagement BS bullshit. That is exactly what I was commending him on my live stream when somebody showed it out to me. I was like, what is this? Oh my God, that's fucking genius.
Well, the thing is, like, I knew whose it was because I know Big Baby. Right?
Yeah.
So like I saw Dexter's tweet and I was like, what the
But you read the further comment to make sure that, yes, okay, this is Big Baby's account, not my account.
No, I knew it was Big Baby's account because Big Baby had sent me the screenshot.
Oh, he did. Okay. But even still, like, but the point is, as a creator, he's creating engagement. He's getting his name distributed in amongst the algorithms. That's what we do.
Oh,
man. You know how many stupid things I've done on air? Like
that was so funny.
It was genius. It was so fucking funny.
R.I.P. my man, Big Baby.
Yeah. Sid finally pulled off your head.
What?
Toy Story? Nothing? Really? No?
I don't remember Toy Story. I got as far as Sid, but like, what's the connection?
Big Baby's a character in Toy Story.
Whoa, I don't remember that movie at all. I get as far as like Woody and Buzz Lightyear and there's a T-Rex named Rex, Mr. Potato Head. I don't even remember if the girl Jessie was in the first one or the second one.
No, second one. Big Baby's in the second one. He's like the bouncer.
Wow. Is that what his name's been referencing the whole time? I thought it was just referencing that he was a big baby. I thought he was just like, man, R.I.P. R.I.P. my goat. Also, before anyone asks, is he baiting? I don't think he is, but it also does seem like the kind of thing he would do. Anyway, who can say?
I don't know. Maybe we'll know next week.
Yeah, never. He's out of the alliance. He's left the unction. It's over.
So now there's a whole whopping 4 of you?
Yeah. Yes. I will never kick my friends. There's like 15 inactive accounts in that alliance, goddammit. And I'm honorable and I respect all of them. I will never, for the love of a PMV, you ask me to betray my friends. It will never happen. It will never occur. I will never do this for a PMV. Maybe I would do it for a higher price, but not a PMV.
Why do I feel like you're still hitting your alliance goals?
We are not.
Really?
Under any circumstances. We have never gotten anything that isn't credits out of the motherfucker. Not one time. No.
Wow. I'm actually surprised.
I'm surprised people bothered to stay in it. But like, yeah, no, it's all just like, you know, us washed people. Yeah. Not one time are we hitting alliance goals. I never. Given
the amount of hours that you and W play alone, I thought you two would have done it. Oh, okay. That's fair.
I don't think W does missions either.
No, I mean, that's fair. That's fair because
it's just Browday hard carrying the alliance to whatever we get. It is all him. Whatever we get is entirely down to him basically every month.
And you've sprinkled in some points. That's it there. They
yeah,
need to
but
fix those,
not in a meaningful amount because it's just the cube points and no mission points, right? So it'll just be like here's some points, and then Browday will have every other point in the alliance. It's like, thanks, man. Thank you for my boosters. I appreciate them.
10 to 15,000 from Brode and 300 from KM.
And then just like me and Doug and Jam kicking in like 500 to 600 off the cubes. Have fun, buddy. Yep, that's how it's been.
I would bring that up as a topic, but I'm pretty sure it's just not worth it because it's alliances. So, it's sad.
I think it's nice they put them back in. I did see. It does kill me. Not even like there's a lot of times where I'm like, second dinner's communication is why people are shitting on them. But this is one of the ones where I was just like, you guys are just looking for a reason to shit on them. Which is they were like, we're going to put the alliance rewards back in weeks 2 and 4. That's when we're going to do this, and we're going to institute that in this patch because that's when we can patch things, right? And then the next week rolled around and it was week 3 of the season. And everyone's like, where the fuck's my PMV? And so they check and they're like, oh, it says weeks 2 and 4. And instead of being like, oh, okay. I saw people that were like, oh, these greedy fucks. Of course they did it this way. Yep. It's like, when did you want them to patch this in? Genuinely, did you want them to wait? Do you want them to not patch it in until the week of, until it lined up with one of the weeks you'd be getting a PMV?
Duh.
Like, a lot of the time I feel like it is second dinner communicating in ways that make them easy to cast as villains. This is one of those cases where I feel like the hole is so deep that it's like, I really don't know what you could have done to avoid that one, buddy.
There's only so many bold, underline, italics, add 3 hashtags that you can do to make people be like, look here, information.
Don't know what you could have done to avoid the people that think you are greedy for your schedule calling you greedy.
How dare you inconvenience them? How dare you?
To be clear, I think the alliance stuff was like a very weird thing for them to like put their foot down on. Like, I don't really know why that was like the thing. Because if the whole argument is like alliances aren't really like a big driver of engagement, they don't help us get new players. Sure. But at the same time, I think what you could do is recognize that alliances are like a significant portion of your enfranchised player base, and taking stuff away from the people who play a bunch is a much harder sell than just introducing things that don't go to them, Like,
if they had,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if they actually went down the path of like what they had said they were going to do about like alliance wars or alliance battles or something along those lines, or ranked alliances, which is a scary thing because I've been in those games before, but it is a major engagement piece for a lot of people, especially in these kinds of games. It is a little bit more of a gotcha style, like true gotcha, not snap gotcha, but like true gotcha style game mechanic. I could still see it being something that they venture down like once they're out of tech debt. But if they had done it earlier, I don't think we'd even be visiting this conversation, because Alliance would be one of the cornerstones of Marvel Snap. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, considering it's such an individual game.
I do think that Alliances represents a missed opportunity that is probably not worth investing in to correct, because of how missed the opportunity was in the first place. It's one of those things where you ever really mess something up. Like you're cleaning. This happened to me the other day, actually. I was cleaning a bathroom and I was like, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll turn on the shower head and like spray the floor down, because it's all tiles and all, there's a drain, and I'll just, I'll wash it out that way, because that's much easier than scrubbing it. Right. I won't have to like get on my hands and knees after putting all the soap down. I can just like scrub the soap in and then wash it off. And I did that. And then the shower head wouldn't turn off, because at some point during that, something had just gone wrong. It broke. And so there was nothing I could have done to avoid that happening other than not doing it in the first place. If I just left the shower head off, it never would have broken in the way that it did in order for that to happen. But at a certain point, it becomes, what is the cost to get this fixed? They presented a couple options. One of the options was they just turn off that shower head. I've got another shower. That's the one I took. And so it's like, it was significantly less expensive than tearing out the wall and replacing the entire shower. And it was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to do that then. So I bring this up to say, A, I hate my plumbing, and B, this is one of those things where it's like, once it has happened, I don't really know what the upside in spending a bunch to make it better would be, because alliances have already pigeonholed themselves as this thing that is foreign franchise players to get additional rewards. Because they have already calcified in this way, I worry that introducing new features to alliances would, like, first of all, I do think there is an associated cost of introducing new features beyond the dev time. That associated cost being you're going to incentivize people to use the new feature by giving them free stuff. And then you have to ask yourself the question of, if we have X amount of free stuff in our budget, what do we want to incentivize? What is the play pattern we want to incentivize? Where do we want that free stuff to go? And overwhelmingly, that free stuff is not supposed to be directed at the people who are already engaged enough in the game to play alliances, which is how you get at a decision like, we're going to take some of the free stuff away from alliances, because then we can target it more at new players and try to acquire more people. Makes sense. The reason you don't do that is because you don't tell your most enfranchised player bases you don't care about them. Like, that's why you don't do that. Fair. And so it's like, it's something I don't understand. Is like, I understand all the logic right up until they make the decision to do that. And so then it's like, what the hell? Like, why are you telling people to not be enfranchised?
The only thing that I could see them actually doing, the only reason that I could see them ever investing into really truly revamping or reworking alliances is if you had basically the equivalent of alliance versus alliance rating, where you had to have decks as defenses. Like, you're trying to protect a tower, trying to take down a tower.
Like that
kind of stuff.
Fire Emblem. The Fire Emblem gacha game has that.
Yeah, that had that. Longtime members of my community remember Disney Sorcerer's Arena and those raids and that kind of stuff. Disney Mirrorverse did something similar as well. And it's basically, you're setting up a defense where, yes, it's technically a computer piloting a deck, but the more defenses you have to offer, the more valuable you are to your alliance, and the strength of your defense matters. So what do you need? You need to have more cards. So if you have more cards, you could present more defenses. And that's how I could see, like, Second Dinner looking at it from a monetization standpoint of, oh, this means people are going to want to get more cards. So they're going to want to use the resources they already have, or they're going to invest more resources to be more valuable to their alliance. And even though that would be the way to do it, it is so against everything that is Marvel Snap that I never see them doing it. And I might be putting my foot in my mouth a year and a half from now, but I can't ever see that being a thing, because it's just not the structure of what this game's core is.
I buy that, but I also buy that it could have been better if it was.
On launch, yes, but not where we are now.
It's the calcification again, right?
Yeah.
Like
100%.
once the like there's this thing where it's like once something has sort of frozen in shape, once the potential is gone, it is what it is. Marvel Snap is it's a former Gifted kid,
Go buy your jerseys, man.
I got you one. If you ever make it to America, I got you a double XL Sauce Gardner hoodie. Got a short sleeve hoodie. If you ever come to America, if I ever meet you in person, I'll give you it's either the Sauce Gardner hoodie or the NFL Blitz Aaron Rodgers Garrett Wilson shirt. Just remind me. You can have one of those. I'm the generous God.
You know what? I think I'm going to stay in Brazil.
It says sauce and one on it. It rocks.
I'm good.
Hey, Neymar.